of combined experience, so rest assured you're in good hands. Trust your local Adelaide experts. Call O'Brien on 13 16 16.
O'Brien.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's FIVEAA.
Partly cloudy this afternoon, 23 with the 3 o'clock news. I'm Michaela Kamara.
Don't miss out on your Hospital Research Foundation home lottery tickets. Hurry, tickets close midnight Thursday.
Nick Xenophon is making a political comeback at the upcoming federal election. The former SA senator resigned from his seat in 2017 to mount an ultimately unsuccessful bid in state parliament. In a statement, Xenophon says he had tried to be a political hermit but can no longer sit on the sidelines. He's pledged to fight for voters on issues the major parties ignore. New Premier Peter Malinauskas has unveiled his ministry with 2 surprise additions. Independent MP Jeff Brock makes a return after serving in the former Wetherill cabinet, and federal-turned-state MP Nick Champion has been given a frontbench position in his first term. The other appointments are largely based on Mr Malinauskas' opposition frontbench. He says it's the team to take the state forward.
As a united, fresh outfit, we are very excited about the future of our state, and we're very excited to be able to deliver on our election policy.
There's been a rise in COVID cases in SA, with 4,742 infections recorded today. 157 people are in hospital, 10 in ICU and 1 on a ventilator. Another 2 people, a man in his 60s and a man in his 70s, have died with the virus. The Hurley Hotel Group has unveiled plans to build a new $30 million hotel on the old TAFE site at Panorama. It'll replace the Tonsley Hotel, which is being acquired for the North-South Corridor Road project later this year. General Manager Sam McInnes says plans for the new Panorama Hotel on Goodwood Road have been lodged with Council.
It's ground plus 4 stories with a fantastic panoramic rooftop bar, which will look over the hills right around to the coast. We've got 3 floors of accommodation with some serviced apartments, and on the ground floor we've got a lovely sports bar, casual dining, gaming room and the reception to the accommodation.
A Russian draft resolution on Ukraine has failed at the United Nations Security Council, with only Russia and China voting for it. All 13 other members abstained. The draft resolution called for the passage of aid and the protection of civilians in Ukraine without mentioning the Kremlin's responsibility for the crisis. The BBC's Nether Tarquif has more.
It's getting harder and harder for Russia to deny its isolation on the international stage. Besides its ally China, all 13 members of the Security Council abstained from voting on Moscow's draft. The common message from most members was if Russia cared and wanted to relieve the suffering of the Ukrainian people, it could end its war now. Instead, Russia's draft does not even recognize it is the sole cause of the humanitarian disaster or respond to the realities on the ground.
Singer and former Silverchair frontman Daniel Johns has been charged with high-range drink driving following a car crash in New South Wales. He allegedly blew more than 3 times the legal limit. Johns has checked himself into rehab, admitting he's been using alcohol to deal with mental health issues. Now turning to FIVEAA Sport. Australian tennis stars are paying tribute to Ash Barty as the world #1 steps away from the sport. The 25-year-old is staying tight-lipped on her next move 24 hours after making the shock announcement. The Nasi Kokonakis says Barty's decision was a boss move.
Yeah, the only thing, if I was her, I would have loved to have seen her do it after she won Aus Open on the mic. I would have been sick, but no, she deserves everything. She's a hell of a player, and who knows, I wouldn't rule out her coming back and maybe playing again, but we'll see.
Dustin Martin is in doubt for Richmond's game against GWS at the MCG on Sunday. The star midfielder has been granted leave from the club for personal reasons. The Australian men's cricket team will be hoping to learn from its mistakes in the drawn second test when it pushes for victory in the third and final match in Pakistan. We enter day 4 with a lead of 134 runs and 9 wickets in hand after bowling the home side out for 268. Bowler Mitchell Stark says it's all set up for an exciting end to the series.
Both teams have spent long periods of time in the field with bowling innings and long times with the bat. So yeah, now it comes down to 2 days and see who's got more in the tank, I guess.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
At Bolivar, trailers flipped on Port Wakefield Road at Summer Road, diesel and debris there, so do take some extra care. Bowden, sign works on Park Terrace near 6th Street, affecting both directions, one lane closed and speeds of 25. At Mile End, you'll find restrictions for works on Henley Beach Road near South Road, that's affecting both directions. Busy Main North Road, Frost Road to Park Terrace, and we've got cameras Anglevale Road, Anglevale, Bridge Road at Salisbury East. What's better than getting a mouth-watering Krispy Kreme original glazed donut? Getting 4 of them for a limited time only. Get the $10 4-pack for just $8 at OTR stores. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast. Partly cloudy this afternoon, 23. Mostly sunny tomorrow, 24. Saturday sunny, 28. And Sunday much the same, a top of 30. Right now it's 21 degrees. Now let's hear what's happening on 9 News Tonight.
Just 13 caught in a stolen car. Another teenage rampage on our roads. Sneaky fees from credit cards, loans and super funds. Now all owed as cashback. How to claim yours. The Malinauskas Ministry. We break down who's in charge. Why working from home could bring a major tax break. And tennis lessons with Auntie Ash, the champ, on her retirement plans. I'm Kate Collins. See the full story on 9 News Tonight at 6.
1395, Adelaide's 5AA. This is Jade Robran.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the program. Thank you very much for sharing your Thursday afternoon with us. We are now going to be talking about cosmetic surgery and the law.
You better get a lawyer, son. You better get a real good one. Better get a lawyer, son. You better get a real good one.
Well, some of these doctors need to get a real good one. Tim Downey from Johnston Withers Lawyers, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jade. Thanks for having me.
This is a really interesting topic because we were just chatting in the ad break. I said, I used to follow a surgeon called Dr. Lanza on Instagram. He was fascinating. Like, the before and afters I always find quite fascinating, but it was his videos. He'd actually film whilst operating and have music playing and all sorts. And I was like, wow, is this allowed? Anyway, fast forward to today, he got into a bit of trouble, didn't he?
Well, yeah, he did, and on that topic, he had up to 5 million TikTok followers, if you believe his own hype. So that's a lot of people that were tuning in and largely watching surgeries and befores and afters. And I think from a marketing point of view, he was hoping to maybe demystify the process. I'm not too sure, but in the end, this Four Corner, an Age and ABC expose on his industry and on Dr. Lanza in particular, highlighted a number of very, very worrying issues, I think, and issues that the medical board, which is called APRA now, have taken extremely seriously and led to Dr. Lanza, in fact, within about a week of that Four Corners story, Dr. Lanza voluntarily handed in his medical licence, so he cannot operate, as I understand it, as a doctor in Australia, and it was apparently legally enforceable. So he certainly went from, I suppose you'd say, hero to zero very quickly in the world of cosmetic surgery.
Because he had, he'd perform surgeries on, models, on actresses, and then they'd send it viral. It was this huge industry. And what scares me, Australians spend an estimated $1 billion on about 500,000 cosmetic procedures each year, and that's more than America per capita. We're obsessed.
It's astonishing, isn't it? I mean, that's an enormous number of cosmetic procedures, and it's an enormous amount of money. So, of course, human nature is that if you've got an industry worth that much, you're going to have a lot of people trying to get into that industry. Now, the legal background to this is really interesting, I think, because in Australia, the word surgeon and the word cosmetic surgeon is not actually what's called a protected title. So anyone with a basic medical degree can call themselves a cosmetic surgeon. And in fact, Dr. Lanza, case in point, was a dermatologist. He wasn't a surgeon, as we understand the word surgeon. So to elaborate a little bit further, for instance, plastic surgeon, to call yourself that, that is a protected title. So you have to do your all of your surgical training. And that's obviously a number of years of surgery. So, for example, for plastic surgery, to get an accreditation, you're looking at a minimum of 12 years of medical and surgical education with an additional 5 years of specialist postgrad training. So the difference between that and, of course, someone that's come straight out of medical school is obviously enormous. Now, you wouldn't do 5 years of specialist surgical training for no reason. There's obviously reasons why these surgeons become so very, very good at what they do. Whereas anyone really with a medical degree can set up a clinic and get the necessary equipment and start performing liposuction, for argument's sake. And when these
this is dodgy because, like, you watch liposuction and it's like quite rough, and you're around organs and really important parts. You're wanting someone that's highly qualified.
Well, going back to the videos, so one of the most famous videos in that expose was them all singing and dancing to Dolly Parton's Jolene, which happens to be a favourite song of mine. Put me off the song, I must say. Or other video of that doctor talking to the camera, so he's looking at the camera and he's performing liposuction at that time. And so the surgeons, the actual plastic surgeons that viewed that video for Four Corners and commented on it were really dumbstruck, because they were saying, you've got to look. You can't be looking at a camera. Because if this goes wrong, it goes horribly wrong.
Oh, and it's on camera, guys. Duh.
Yeah. And another part of that story, of course, were the people that had really, really bad outcomes. And this, for me, is what I see in my practice, of course. We have people that come to us that have had really bad outcomes from surgeries.
Truly.
Yeah, and it's really, really horrible. Now, a lot of surgeries, despite the surgeon's very, very best efforts, go wrong, and that's a risk we all face. And surgery is a highly risky enterprise, and so you can get an infection, despite the very, very best intent and procedures and practices by a hospital and doctor. You can still obviously get infection, but that risk of infection can increase 10 times if the clinic or the hospital isn't following standards. So in the cosmetic surgery case, there were people that had suffered horrible cellulitis cases that had nearly died. There were people with terrible outcomes from breast reduction surgeries, where they'd ended up having to then have years of pain and end up with corrective surgeries. I mean, when these things go wrong, they go horribly wrong, and it's really sad as a lawyer when you see these people. And it's difficult because, quite often, we might not be able to help them. So,
well, how does that even work? Because you're right, when you sign up to surgeries, I've had quite a few in my time, and you sign the paperwork, and the nurses and the doctors, they tell you the risks and count to 5, you're asleep, and you wake up, and I always hope I wake up, there are so many risks involved. And how do you come back from that? I mean, if you know that you've signed up for something so risky, where do you have a case?
Yeah, and look, really, the best way to describe it is that in Australia, we really have to establish, if you like, gross negligence. So you're really needing to show that doctor, and just to be stupid about it, for instance, was under the influence of alcohol, for argument's sake. you're looking for a real departure from what any other doctor would consider a reasonable level of care. So I've had some cases like in this area where the overwhelming evidence from other doctors we consulted was to say that surgeon was completely what they call like surgically disorientated, so that really the mistake that he made was such a basic mistake that a doctor of that standard just should not make it. Mm-hmm. And you are relying on a standard. So when you do go under the knife and that they count down, the law accepts that you are relying on that doctor's standard. However, the standard is just a standard, so there is no optimal level of care. As long as the doctor or the surgeon can satisfy the court that they performed it up to a certain standard, that's adequate. So probably in all of my practice areas that I work in sort of personal injury space, medical negligence, I would say we almost get the most number of calls, but also it's the area where we can really least help people, because it's very, very difficult to establish negligence in most cases.
If you've got a question that you'd like to ask Tim, or maybe you've had a bit of a botched surgery or something's gone wrong and you'd like to share your story, we'd love to hear from you. 8223 0000.
I've been driving for most of my life and I've always been a safe driver, but as I've grown older, driving has become more challenging. Intersections feel busier, driving in peak hour traffic and travelling longer distances is stressful, and driving at night or in bad weather is risky. Even small mistakes can be costly. Look for the signs. If driving is getting harder, there are alternatives. Make a plan to stop driving on your terms. Don't stop driving by accident. Think road safety, a message from the Government of South Australia.
Hi, Rodney Jane here. No one beats Bob Jane T-Marts. Best tyres, best wheels and best deals. Buy 3, get 1 free, and up to $100 instant cashback on top brands such as Bridgestone, Michelin, Goodyear, Continental, Yokohama and Dunlop. A huge selection of 4x4 wheels with steel wheels from just $89 and Australia's largest tyre range from just $67. With our best tyre price guarantee, we'll look after you.
T's and C's apply. G'day, it's Jared for Wayville Mitsubishi. The Wayville showroom on Goodwood Road is going through a rebuild, so right now you'll need to enter via Goodwood Road for sales and via Davenport Lane for service. So it's business as usual at Wayville Mitsubishi, driven by Australian Motors.
Your pals say a lot about you, and that's why Parafield Airport Liquor Store put all their pals to the test before they make the shelf. They've made pals with over 300 craft beers, 500 whiskies from around the world, and over 2,000 wines. They know good pals when they see them, and they've got an airport hangar full of pals to introduce you to. Parafield Airport Liquor Store. Pals. Open till late 7 days. Next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Parafield.
Ray White. Big name in real estate, but also the biggest name in business broking. What makes us big? Our people, like Brett Buckley and his team. MBA, lecturer, and multi-time SA Business Broker of the Year. Brett doesn't just read a P&L, he feels it. If you're selling or expanding your business, Brett can take your business apart and find you more money. And we're not talking small change. Go on, touch base with Brett. Search Ray White Business Sales SA.
The Barossa Valley is gorgeous, which is why it makes sense to make the Vine change to retirement living in Barossa Village, Angaston, Tanunda and Nuriyutpa. It's the retirement lifestyle you deserve. And your pets too. Yes, your pets are your family, so you should never have to choose between your lifestyle and your beloved animals. Make the Vine change at Barossa Village, under an hour from the city. Find out more at barossavillage.org.
Take racing to the next level with Top Toed Exotics. Place an exotic bet, including a quaddie, at Rosehill, Mornington and Ascot this Saturday and get the top toed price across all 3 tabs. Take it to the next level. Gamble responsibly.
Jade Robran on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
We are talking with Tim Downey from Johnston Withers Lawyers, who are Adelaide's legal firm with 75 years experience. And you can check out everything we're talking about today or contact one of their lawyers at johnstonwithers.com.au. Today we're talking about cosmetic surgery and the law, and broadening it really to surgery in general and the law. And sometimes it can go wrong. And so what are your rights? You know, where do you stand with all of that? And interestingly, you just gave a nice example to me off air where, you know, if your arm's hanging off because you've been in an accident and you go to the RA and they stitch it on, well, and it doesn't quite work as well afterwards, well, you can't really go back on that. But if you're wanting a beautiful new nose or enhance a certain area of your body, and you research and you find the best surgeon who's got the best photos and they've promised you the world, that's a very different story. That's a very different scenario, isn't it?
It is, because that's really an inducement.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for that type of advertising, the person may never have realised that their tummy was too big, or their nose wasn't straight enough, or their boobs weren't good enough, and they may not have realised that their life would have been so much better if they only have this procedure. And so in that sense, the inducement really operates to almost say, look, things can't go wrong. This is going to lead to a better life, and a better life obviously doesn't mean a life full of pain and discomfort and all of the other risks that they're taking on. Now, I'm not saying for a moment that these surgeons didn't provide sufficient warnings, and I'm sure they did. But warning, I think, my own personal view is warning someone after a huge inducement is a totally different thing. Mm. And it needs potentially a different type of warning. And look, I think that's been shared more broadly now. The Therapeutic Goods Administration body has come out, the TGA, which we know well through all the vaccinations, they've come out now and they've actually banned social media influencers from promoting healthcare products.
Yeah, good.
So that's effective from July this year. So it doesn't allow social media influencers, so those types of people that are on Instagram and Snapchat who are telling us how great the latest weight shake is or whatever it might be.
You'll rub this cream on your face, you'll look 10 years younger.
Correct. Or, where
give it to me.
I'll try anything. And so it's a ban for them to promote paid incentives. Now, this will be quite interesting, I've got to see, in the how it will really work, because in one sense, it would stop, Ricky Ponting going on and advertising toothpaste.
Yeah, sure.
Because toothpaste, I suppose, is a health product, and he wouldn't be able, technically, and I'm sure they'll need to work all of that out, but I really think it's a good idea, and I think it's a move in the right direction where the regulators start to recognise just the power of social influence over these really major decisions in people's lives.
So what do I do if I've had a bad outcome from cosmetic surgery or really any type of procedure? What do you do?
Yeah, well, look, I think the first thing is to go back to the doctor and have a really honest, or attempt to have a really honest conversation. That can be difficult. I actually think it's really worthwhile putting something down in writing and getting that to the rooms. It's not unusual, and quite often I will have cases where I'll investigate for some time, and when I really get to the bottom of it, it can often just be a miscommunication or poor communication. So when the doctor or the hospital is given sufficient opportunity to really explain to someone what happened, then often, certainly, any prospect of a case is gone, but often that'll satisfy the person. It just can be that they don't get to have that conversation. So that's the first thing I'd say. I'd say really try and have a conversation with the rooms or with the doctor. And you have to be reasonable. I was speaking to a specialist friend of mine a couple of weeks ago who said you wouldn't believe we have people that get really angry when we say, look, it'll take 2 weeks after this procedure for things to settle down, and if it hasn't settled down in 3 weeks, they'll come back and complain. So and he'll just be astonished by these people that think that it's like that. So, yeah.
Let's talk to David from the Adelaide Hills. Hi, David.
I just, to your comment about medical procedures and advertising, does that mean, for instance, people advertising hair replacement, would that be covered by the same legislation?
Yeah, David. So this is the little bit of what I think is going to be a bit of a grey area. And I've already seen an article come out which has queried, and it didn't use hair product, it used toothpaste as an example. But I think the article was sort of questioning how the TGA was going to go on this, because the example I used was, you know, a footballer or a cricketer advertising toothpaste. That could be seen in contravention, okay? But, I mean, David, it is only, it's social media. It's not television, and I suspect television quite often will have, you'll see the little disclaimers in fine print along the bottom of an ad. Yeah, so you're quite right. There's potential for anyone doing a shampoo ad, and you would consider shampoo to be a therapeutic good, and they'd be in contravention.
And when it comes to the surgeries you're discussing, often they'll want you to sign all kinds of waivers and disclaimers, you know, if it doesn't work out. Are you suggesting that because if you can sit there and go, well, hang on, mate, you said it was going to be this way and I've ended up with pinched nerves or something, that effectively could waive the disclaimers within such a contract?
You have to really be a real departure from the waiver that you're signing. So what you're signing is you're accepting what are the statistical risks, all right? So even when you go under a general anaesthetic, there is a risk you'll die. I mean, that's just a given, a statistical risk, you'll never come out of it. So you're signing something to acknowledge that. What you're not signing away, because you can't sign out of negligence, just a bit of technicality, what you're not signing away is, for example, if the surgeon was, as I said earlier, under the influence of a drug, or was so heavily distracted they were listening to FIVEAA on radio while they were performing surgery and were thinking of something else and did a colossal mistake. So you can't contract, you can't disclaim out of something that's grossly negligent, but most certainly what you're signing away for is an acknowledgement that there's really serious risks when you have any type of surgery.
All right, so yeah, thank you for those insights.
Thanks very much, David. Cheers. It is dodgy, though, isn't it? Because, you know, you expect to go in, you pay top dollar for these surgeons, and you expect to come out, you know, with your knee fixed or...
And that's the real point here, is that if you go to what we consider what most of us would consider a surgeon, like an orthopaedic surgeon, you're quite right. The problem here is that there is a cohort of doctors that are using that term surgeon, and they really haven't done the training that a qualified surgeon has done, and I think that's the problem. And you're paying them the money, expecting a certain product or service, and you're really probably not getting what you're thinking.
That is remarkable, because as soon as you hear surgeon, you're thinking you're in good hands.
Absolutely.
So beware. It's not always the case. Tim Downey, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming in, as always. And if you would like to head to johnstonwithers.com.au, you can contact the guys there if you need some more info. We're going to head into a news break now. Coming up afterwards, how COVID is affecting schools and teachers. We're going to touch base with the SA President of the Australian Education Union. There are calls to bring the school holidays earlier. Is that a good idea, or is it not?
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Good afternoon, I'm Michaela Kamarek. Nick Xenophon is making a political comeback at the upcoming federal elections, saying in a statement he can no longer sit on the sidelines. Peter Malinauskas has unveiled his new ministry with two surprise additions, independent Jeff Brock and former federal MP Nick Champion. There's been a rise in COVID cases in SA, with 4,742 infections recorded today, and round 2 of the AFL kicks off tonight with the Western Bulldogs taking on Carlton. Partly cloudy this afternoon, 23. Right now it's 21. More news at 4 o'clock and As It Happens on 5AA.
5AA Breakfast.
We're giving away the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery's Early Bird Prize. It is this wonderful Scott Salisbury home in Summerton Park. Paul Flynn's the CEO and joins us.
Someone this morning is going to win the Early Bird Prize, which is $2 million, which includes a $50,000 handshake as well.
All I've got is a number. I don't even know who it belongs to. But it's a number that's going to change someone's life in the next few moments.
Informing Adelaide.
What's your name?
Chris.
Chris!
No.
You've got a new house!
No.
Yes!
No.
Chris, congratulations to you.
You are kidding me.
6 a.m. weekdays.
Are you in an open plan office? Can anyone see you at the moment?
I'm actually a nurse. So,
mate.
Yeah, I've just popped into one of the doctor's offices.
Chris, it's Paul here. Look, just make sure when the doctor comes that you're not collapsed on the floor.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
If the doctor's listening, get the defibrillator.
This is just unbelievable.
On 5AA.
A kid's playground, rubbish. A park bench, rubbish. A nature boardwalk, rubbish. You see, the Australian government is helping industry to transform your old rubbish into incredible new things. Proudly remade in Australia. Like this outdoor gym, rubbish. Even this brand new road, rubbish. Every time you recycle, you're helping to remake Australia into a better place for everyone. Remade in Australia. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Get a hurry on as the Harris Scarf 4-day sale is on now. For 4 days, you won't believe these prices are for real. 4 days of cookware, knife blocks, chopping boards, hydration, flasks, dinner and cutlery sets at 50% off. 4 days of quilts, pillows, mattress protectors, sheet sets, quilt covers, cushions and home decor, and all women's knitwear and pants at 40% off. And 4 days of bras and underwear at 30% off. Available in store or online. Click and collect in only 2 hours. Harris Scarf, great brands, great prices. Sale ends March the 27th. Excludes electrical.
Has your family run into a legal dispute? Have you had an injury or car accident you believe you can claim for? Has someone left a will that you want to challenge? If you find yourself needing a lawyer, you need the team at Johnston Withers. Johnston Withers is an Adelaide legal firm with 75 years' experience. They have plenty of expertise in family law, personal injury, motor accident claims, wills and estates, workers' compensation, asbestos diseases and much more. Every Thursday we'll talk about current legal issues with the legal experts from Johnston Withers Lawyers, but you can call them anytime. For free initial advice, Johnston Withers is with you. Call them on 8231 1110, that is 8231 1110, or go to johnstonwithers.com.au.
Get around it on the AFL with Ladbrokes Same Game Multi. Add your favourite markets from the same game and watch your potential payout increase. Ladbroke it! T's and C's apply. See ladbrokes.com.au for details. Gamble responsibly.
It doesn't matter what level you're at, from beginner to expert, the incredible team at Drummond Golf just love talking golf. Here's Shane from Drummond Golf.
G'day, Rowey.
Shane, is there anything you guys don't do?
We do the lot, from fitting you to the exact clubs best suited to your game and style of play. So you can also look the part. We've got plenty of clothing and we've got all the accessories to go with it.
Now, you guys have the best accessories. Seriously, it's like a golfer's wonderland down there. All the famous brands, and you also do lessons.
Absolutely. We'll get your handicap down. And don't forget, our driving range is there to hone your skills 7 days a week.
You're a legend, Shane. See Shane and the team at Drummond Golf, Enfield, Darlington, Mile End, Tea Tree Gully, and the West Beach driving range.
Hi, Bronte Manuel from Toop and Toop. It may be Mad March, but we're continuing to see high levels of inquiry from buyers keen to purchase and move in before winter. Thinking about a move? Get in touch with Australia's #1 real estate agency, toop.com.au.
1395, Adelaide's 5AA. This is Jade Robran.
Good tune, John Cougar Mellencamp. Alrighty, so David and Will are all over this one. They're lining up to go. A Girl from the North Country at Her Majesty's Theatre this month. It stars Lisa McEwen and it's featuring Bob Dylan's music. I've got a double to pass away to one lucky listener. 82230055 is the number to call. What do you think? Caller number 6 today. So if you want to head off to that, call in now. Tammy will pick up the phone in just a few moments. All right, school holidays are meant to start in about 3 weeks, but there's calls to bring it forward a week. We spoke to CEO Department of Education Rick Purse on the show yesterday, and you might have heard him say that he can't rule out students going back to online learning with our COVID numbers expected to soar in the next few weeks.
The problem, Jade, is obviously when we get high percentages of staff impacted in one site. So you can have quite a small school, and normally they're obviously our country schools, where you could have a staff of only 5, and losing 2 people is a big deal. Equally, it's challenging to get relievers to the country. More challenging to get relievers to the country than it is in the city. And then, of course, in secondary schools where teachers are subject matter specialists, that just means that it just makes it trickier again. So yeah, look, it is. It's one of those ones that we are working really, really hard on. We've deployed dozens and dozens and dozens of teachers out of the department, because obviously the education department's got a lot of teachers in it centrally, and they are all out in schools supporting it, and in our regional schools as we're using the reliever pool and so on. But in some instances what that does mean is that and it is a last resort for us, but if we can't get the number of teachers to maintain kind of quality and or safety in terms of coverage, we will have to flip to remote learning. And I heard your introduction on the cold chills of that, and I absolutely identify with that for parents. So that's not the news that they'd like to hear. And as I say, it's a last resort for us, but I won't hesitate in doing it if I have to make sure that that staff and students are kept kind of safe and the program is high quality.
So how far away are we? How much worse does it have to get before you pull the trigger?
Oh, look, I pulling the trigger in terms of any kind of statewide decision is a mile off. It's not even on the table.
That part of it was good news. Well, is the solution to bring forward the school holidays a week earlier, is that a good idea? 82230000. Well, the Education Union thinks so. Andrew Goll, SA President of the Australian Education Union, joins us on the line. Andrew, thanks so much for your time.
Good afternoon, Jade.
So bringing school holidays forward, that's what you'd like to see?
I think that's a really good idea. It would be school holidays a week early for students, but for staff, what we're proposing is a week of pupil-free days. I think that's really important. The feedback we're getting is really concerning. The levels of exhaustion and fatigue amongst our educators is really significant at this point, remembering that they've been really papering over the cracks of a system which is experiencing increasing levels of absentee from staff and students. And what that means for them is really losing out on lessons that they would have free to prepare, mark, assess and report on students' work, to pick up a relief for a teacher who's absent. And of course, remembering that all staff have been doing this for the last 8 weeks. They've been operating without that preparation time, which means you've got to find time at some point during the day to do that work. So that's before and after school for significant hours. And people are exhausted. So our proposal is to have that week 11. It's a long term, week 11, which is student-free days, which gives a few things. Firstly, it provides a break, a circuit breaker, if you like, to slow and even stop the spread of Omicron through the school. Mm-hmm. In addition, it gives staff really important time that they missed out on at the start of school to sit down, regroup, and prepare for term 2. because what I'm hearing, I'm really worried about this, is the Facebook websites where there are teachers who participate, and I'm seeing increasing numbers of particularly new teachers who are saying, how do I break my contract? I'm burnt out. I need to get out of teaching. And I'm really worried about this for term 2, because there'd be others who are thinking about this as well. And we can't afford to have our teaching staff dropping out because they're just exhausted. And that's really what we're looking at the moment.
So just to clarify, it would look like a 3-week break for students, a 2-week normal as planned for teachers, but that extra 5 days would be pupil free, and you want them to be able to go into the classrooms and just plan and catch up.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. That's right. Because I think that's been missing for this term, and I think that would be great for physical and psychological health.
So just not sustainable. I mean, are they coming back to you saying they're exhausted, they're fatigued because they're picking up the slack of all these other teachers, as well as those that have had COVID? Are they recovering okay? I mean, what is the actual feedback that they're telling you?
Yeah, so based on a survey we did recently, 76% of sites have between 1 and 10 teachers away every day. 15% have more than 11 teachers away every day. So automatically there you're seeing, the response from schools is we've got to combine classes. So then you've got classes of up to, 55 is the sort of reports we've been hearing. And then as soon as you're combining classes, the learning program that might have been engaged with either of those classes then has to be modified. So parents need to understand that, sure, kids are going to school, yes, there's a teacher in front of the class, but they're actually not doing the work that had been previously planned. And so this has been really disruptive as well for students. So, it's a situation which is deteriorating. And, part of the problem around this is that there are many students who have had perhaps a succession of teachers. And, of course, teaching operates on good relationships, good learning relationships between the teacher and the student. And, with a succession of teaching staff, those relationships aren't there, then there become behavioural issues as it becomes difficult to engage kids with, numbers of different teachers. And so we're at that point at the moment, and that's why there really needs to be some circuit breaker to let everyone regroup.
Andrew, talk to me about members who have spoken to you about large numbers in the one class, and what are those concerns that come from that?
Well, there's a couple of levels. Firstly, as I said, disrupted learning program. Secondly, there do start to creep in issues around duty of care. One pair of eyes over 55 students is really, really difficult for a teacher. You can't have eyes everywhere all at once, even though we're very good at doing that. So that becomes a duty of care issue, or something to happen in that classroom with a number which exceeds the enterprise agreement requirements. Then that could put not only the school at risk, the department at risk if something happens, but also the teacher that's there through no fault of their own, doing their best job, put them at risk as well legally. And there's been other instances where school service officers who aren't authorised to supervise classes have been in front of classes providing supervision, and that can only happen if there's another teacher present. So that also puts that SSO at risk, and it puts the school at risk as well. So, at the moment, and I wondered in the lead up to the election whether or not there was a political imperative to keep sites open. But what we're seeing is a whole range of practices in place which are breaching industrial entitlements, which are putting staff at legal risk, and, the learning programs themselves, are being disrupted as well. So, the value overall of this has got to be questioned, and when you overlay that with a level of fatigue and exhaustion, then I think, there really does need to be a circuit breaker implemented and pretty promptly.
Oh, we've got a text that's just come through from Pete. Why don't they lift mandates on teachers like they did with the police, and then they would get many back? Would that be the case?
I think that might. I'm not sure how many initially. I think there were around about 300. Look, I think the thing to understand here is that policing is not teaching, and teaching is not policing. Police don't put themselves in the classroom of 29 other students, all in close proximity. It's a very different context. So, that's the first point I'd like to make.
Yeah.
And of course, we've all got a responsibility, I think, to make sure that we're vaccinated so as to enable our hospitals to function without, the risk of beds being filled up by people who are very sick from COVID. So, there's that. So our branch council has a strong position which supports the mandate and follows the health advice. And, I think, having said that, we should always be looking at the situation as it changes, because it is very changeable, and have that health advice to reconsider that situation and whether or not, having been double vaccinated or triple vaccinated is still essential, given the fact that, rates are increasing anyway. But that's not for me to say. We've got a branch council position that supports the mandate, but we should always be looking at the situation as it changes.
So, Andrew, what's the next step? We're 3 weeks away before the holidays do start. You're wanting them to be 2 weeks away. Parents need a plan. Teachers need a plan. Word needs to get out. So what's the next step to push what you'd like to happen?
Yeah. Well, look, we're calling on the department to make that call. We think that it's timely to do that at the moment. So, really, I guess the ball's in the department's court to recognise the sorts of stresses that the system and the people who work in that system are under, and make that public announcement. Well, I agree. It's problematic for parents who, will have to find care for their children for that additional week. But in any case, there are parents who are doing this in an ad hoc way at the moment as teachers are absent due to illness. And so at the moment we've got a sort of, a haphazard, site by site, classroom by classroom situation where they're being closed or shut down. So parents are already dealing with the haphazard nature of that. What I'm suggesting is a system-wide response that gives time for a break and gives parents an opportunity to at least plan for that, recognising that that's difficult for many working parents.
Oh, we've been pivoting like a hip-hop dancer with COVID at our school, trying to beat it and dodge it and all of that. So, yeah, it is. It's difficult. It's difficult for everybody, and we appreciate all the hard work that the teachers are putting in. Andrew, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Jade.
Andrew Gold there, SA President of the Australian Education Union. We're going to take a short break. You're listening to Adelaide's 5AA.
AFL legend Lethal Lee Matthews joins Rowey's Sports Show each Wednesday from 5 p.m. to discuss all things AFL. Thanks to St Kilda Beach Hotel. If there's one thing footy folk know, it's legends. And the schnitzels at St Kilda Beach Hotel are legendary.
Here comes the Kia Stonic SUV. Step up into the sportiest SUV on the block and see it all with an elevated ride height. Packed with a turbocharged punch, up-to-date smart tech, striking two-tone colour range. Hold up. And Australia's best 7-year warranty? The Kia Stonic SUV. You up?
We're for greater footy every day. Enjoy all your footy news with digital access to the Advertiser for just $1 for the first 28 days. Subscribe today. Search the Advertiser offer. Conditions apply.
Were you a fan of the Seekers? Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons? Neil Sedaka, the Everly Brothers, or the Bee Gees? Well, don't miss the Robertson Brothers Variety Show. It's a live 1960s variety TV show with special guest Simon Brooke McLaughlin from the Jersey Boys. The Robertson Brothers Variety Show. Tickets on sale now.
Her Majesty's Theatre, Thursday, May 12. Tickets at the venue.
Bonus local delivery on Australian-made mattresses now at Harvey Norman when you spend over $999. All the big brands. King Coil by A.H. Beard, Sleepmaker, Beauty Rest and Sealy Posturepedic. Plus 60 months interest-free. No deposit finance from Latitude with 60 approximately equal monthly payments. Finance only available if you have or are approved for a participating Latitude credit card. Minimum finance amount $1,000. See T's and C's. Interest applies for non-compliance. Fees and product exclusions apply. Available on in-store purchases only. Bonus local delivery on Australian-made mattresses now at Harvey Norman.
Progress has been made to connect Australia's healthcare system. Now everyone can choose to get an electronic prescription, have a consultation with a doctor from home, and use My Health Record to view your COVID-19 dashboard, including boosters and test results. And there's more to come, connecting Australia to a healthier future and you to better healthcare. Find out more at digitalhealth.gov.au.
Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra. Spoken by Dr. Andrew Rochford.
Where can you get special perks for simply being 50 or over? Sky City, where else? You deserve to be spoilt with free parking and incredible $9.90 meal offers every Thursday and Sunday. Not to mention exclusive happy hours, discounted barista coffees and Friday martinis. Available to bronze and silver Sky City Rewards members 50 or over. Visit skycityadelaide.com.au to find out more.
Sky City, where else?
T's and C's apply. Enjoy responsibly. This week at Foodland, Aussie premium beef rump steak, a sizzling special, just $24.90 a kilo. Till March 29th, while stocks last.
Foodland, the mighty South Aussies, yeah.
Jade Robran on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
Good afternoon. In a few moments, we're going to be talking to Nick Xenophon, but coming up after 4 o'clock is Rowey Sports Show. Good afternoon.
Great man, Nick Xenophon. Jade, on 5AA Facebook, everybody, are you wearing a horse blanket?
Well, it looks like that, but it also looks like I've skinned Humphrey B. Bear.
Yes, you have.
Doesn't it? Very soft and cuddly.
He couldn't talk, Humphrey, could he?
Mm-mm.
Nick Xenophon can. I won't hold him up. Socceroos take on Japan tonight. A must win game. 9 players missing due to injury, COVID, or they're unavailable. I don't get that, so no excuses, lads. They need to fire up. Caro joins us after 5. That's always, what's the word, insightful. Rory Sloane from the Crows. We've got Crows and Ports teams and all the injuries. See you at 4.
See ya, Sonny Bill Williams. Yeehaw!
Oh, he knocked the living gizzards out of him.
Yep. All right, I'm really excited about this. Nick Xenophon, he's making his political comeback. He's standing for the Senate and he joins us now. Nick Xenophon, this is good news. Are you ready for the fight?
Well, I think I said when I spoke to the media earlier on that I think I do it with both humility and some trepidation. I think politics has gotten nastier, more vicious in the last few years, and that's not good for the soul of the country. But I think there are a lot of issues out there that need advocacy from the political centre, issues that I think the others aren't really talking about. And, you know, my mantra on this campaign will always be that I give a damn. And I think issues such as aged care, National Disability Scheme, the whole issue of health, especially in the post-pandemic phase, and there's other issues that people just aren't talking about, such as housing affordability in terms of tackling that as an issue. So these are a lot of big issues, and I need to do it again as an independent.
Thank you, because I am so sick of this infighting in Canberra and the backstabbing and the bitchiness. It just sends such bad messages to everybody, and it's really hard to look at my kids in the face and go, well, they're allowed to do it, you're not allowed to do it. It's just awful. It's getting worse, and I'm really glad that you're going to take them on, and also to give South Australia a voice as well.
Look, that's important, and I think defence jobs. I'm worried about the nuclear submarine announcement because lack of detail. Will it mean speculation that it could mean thousands fewer jobs for South Australia? And also that capability gap. We need the subs now. We live in an uncertain world. The invasion of Ukraine by Putin was something a lot of people just didn't think would happen. It's quite shocking. Yeah. And that's why on national security issues, I'll support the government and the opposition who are bipartisan. But I'll be talking about the issues that the others don't give a damn about. And there's a lot of issues there. Having one of my parents, my dear dad, in aged care, fortunately he's in a good home where they're looking after him, but they are doing it tough. Those carers do a fantastic job. They deserve more pay, but we also have to reduce the current staffing ratio so that there are more people there, because at the moment the staffing ratio is just not enough for people to do their job as well as they would like to support our senior citizens.
No, it's certainly not. And Nick, we haven't seen you for 4 years. Was there a moment that you sat and went, I've got to return, I've had enough?
I think it's cumulative, a lot of moments. I started thinking about this last year when David Pemberthy was badgering me for his job, your breakfast host in terms of for the Australian. A story about Ugg boots, how hard it was for a client that I'm representing pro bono, not charging him, about bringing the Ugg name back home. An Aussie battler based in Sydney who now owes $3.5 million in fines and legal fees for daring to sell a dozen pairs of Ugg boots in the US. Now, where has success of Australian governments been to stand up for the Aussie battler and to stand up for something as iconic as Ugg? I'm not saying this is not just about Ugg, but it's
picture.
Symbolic of the bigger picture that we just haven't stood up for manufacturing.
Yeah.
So these are the issues, and I think, I'll be a pesky, persistent bastard like I've always been. I'll do it as an independent. Look, it's going to be tough. I mean, I've just got a website up and running today. It's just xenophon.com.au, and I literally need many hundreds of volunteers to help me on election day. I think my tip is that the election is going to be either May the 7th or May the 14th. I think the government is running out of options for dates. So we could have an election as soon as just over 6 weeks away.
Well, if anyone can do it, you can. Nick Xenophon, good luck, and thanks so much for popping on and letting us know your great news. That is a wrap for today's show. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your afternoon with us on Afternoons. Rowey Sports Show is coming up next. Have a great afternoon.
AFL is back for 2022.